Hopefully you can hear me. It's a little windy out here. More than a little windy, in fact. It's chilly, so forgive my layers. I got 7 layers on top, 5 on the bottom. But I'm out here in the Oregon Coast Range, the coastal mountains. The Oregon Cascades are the famous mountains, Mount Hood, the High Cascades, where the glaciers are and so on. But there's another mountain range west of the Cascades called the Coast Range. It goes up and down the whole length of the state of Oregon. And the Coast Range has been heavily logged. There's very little old growth forest remaining. In the area where I am right now, there's one little patch that I know of down this way, a couple miles down there. Probably about 6 miles from where we're sitting. I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't any old growth within a 6-mile radius of us. And besides that little patch, a few acres. We're actually on private land right now. This is Weyerhaeuser land. There's Roseburg Forest Products land out here. Other logging companies own an incredible amount of land out here. I mean, this entire mountain that we're standing on, this mountain over here, this whole mountain, aside from one little block right here that belongs to the state, this mountain here in front of us that I'm standing on, this mountain here underneath me, this whole ridge line over here, the next ridge line over, the next one after that, all owned by logging companies. And it's incredible what they do to these places. They're just destroying them. They replant, they replant these Douglas firs. I just learned recently that they've got special breeding facilities where they do rapid breeding to select for the firs that will grow the fastest. And whole mountainsides out here are decimated. I mean, this hillside down here, you can see it. A big clear cut there. That clear cut is probably a couple hundred acres. This one over here is bigger. It wraps over the whole top of the mountain. This one that we're on right now was probably bigger as well. Not many people spend time out in these forests. People are either inland in the big cities, the population centers, or they go out to the Oregon coast to enjoy the beautiful coast. It's spectacular. It's an incredible place. But people miss this 30, 40, 50 mile wide stretch of mountains and forests. About the western half of that is mostly owned by the national forests, and logging there is relatively uncommon, at least compared to how it used to be. But the eastern half of the Coast Range especially is a checkerboard. A lot of it's owned by the BLM, and a lot of it's owned by private logging companies, who also own land further west as well. Gotta hold this with this hand to block the wind, but my hand is freezing. So I think my buddy's getting ready to go over there. These logging companies are ripping through these forests out here, replanting them like crops, managing the forest and the land like industrial agriculturalists, which is what they are. And this is one of the main reasons why the salmon are going extinct. Just last night I was camped down here in this valley and hearing salmon thrashing their way upstream. Very few of them. I saw 3 last night. 4 actually. Cohos, I believe. About as long as my arm, about 3 foot long fish. And they're just barely hanging on. Barely hanging on. In the face of industrial overfishing, commercial most importantly, but you see these fishermen lined up sometimes at the mouth of the river to catch them, and the sport fishing has an impact as well. Global warming, changing the water temperatures, reducing the rainfall, changing the patterns of precipitation. This industrial logging. And the dams, of course. The dams need to come down if those fish are going to survive. But this video is just a call for people to fight for these forests. People have been fighting hard for a long time for the public forests, the Forest Service lands, and to a lesser extent the BLM lands. There's less legal avenues to stop logging on private lands. Very difficult to do. But we have to do it for the future, for these fish.